Okay, gentlemen. Well, I'm not hearing from Juan. I don't know. He may be detained somewhere else or have overslept. I don't know. But welcome.
Well, hi. Could I suggest, Monday at the telecall, they said that was the last one until after the New Year's. They said there wouldn't be another teleconference until, I think, the 4th of January, 6th of, no, let's see, the 6th of January. I was surprised when I got the message for this one today.
Oh, okay. I hadn't noticed. I mean, this is the last week until then, but okay.
Well, they said Monday that was the last seminar, or the last webinar.
Okay. Well, we're here.
Yeah, okay. I took the same, and so was surprised but happy. So, how many are on?
Well, so far it's just you two gentlemen. I think Scott planned on coming by. I don't know where Juan is. Maybe, well, I don't know. We'll see. People show up later.
Well, I suspect that he thought that this was the last one. I know I did. So, okay.
Well, do either of you have anything important on your list to talk about?
Well, something totally unrelated. What would you suggest for NLP, for learning NLP?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good resources in reading. You know, our class with Michael Watson is a really good introduction class, and you know, it's online and comprehensive. Michael's great, but a lot of reading. Oh, looks like Scott showed up. That's good.
Good.
Hello,
Morning.
Scott. Good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm well.
Good.
We've Ray was just asking for suggestions on learning NLP. I, of course, suggested he take our class with Michael Watson, but I'll let you go ahead and address the question. You're
I'd be happy to.
The authority.
Ooh, someone's got puppies.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ray. I was going to give you a phone call today anyway about tech stuff, but we can come back to that in a little bit. First, I'll answer your question about NLP. Well, what is your question? If you wouldn't mind repeating it, because I can give you a lot of answers depending on what the question is.
Okay, I just unmuted myself. I'm going to mute myself again because my dogs get excited when somebody walks by. I'm pretty well. I'm very well versed in EFT, and I was of the belief that EFT was kind of the latest version of NLP. And then reading up on NLP, apparently, NLP is, as I understand it, integrates pacing, as you discussed in the course. But then apparently, well, there's one thing online that wants to sell me a course for $1,500, and that's at a discount.
I'm sure there is.
And that's related to NLP in everyday life. And so I did get one book to extend my my knowledge of NLP, and it related mainly to hypnotherapy and EFT. And so I was just, I wanted to learn a little bit more about it. You know, I guess the aspect that I'm looking at is persuasiveness or bonding, before you even get into the hypnotherapy aspect.
Sure, I'm with you.
That type of thing. And
Sure.
I'm not, I don't want to sound cheap, but I just don't want to throw out
Oh, come on. Yeah.
$1,500 at the...
That doesn't sound cheap. That sounds reasonable. I'll give it to you for $1,400.
Hey!
Yeah, let's negotiate. By the way, I'm just looking at the list. Hey, Larry Butler. Good morning. Anyway, so Ray, so NLP I love. The way I see NLP as it relates to EFT, if you back up to Gary Craig, and I might be rusty on some of this, but to me it's sort of a fork in the road a little while ago, and they've both progressed in slightly divergent directions. They're complementary of each other, of course, but I wouldn't say that EFT is the latest NLP. I would say EFT is an offshoot.
Well, that's what I'm sorry.
So I love NLP. I think it's incredibly useful in conjunction with hypnotherapy or by itself. I think a lot of effective pre-talk and reframing and a lot of the things that we do to set our clients up for success are NLP based. And I think good intake questions and the ability to ask questions is the result of good NLP. And you look at Fritz Perls and Virginia Satir, obviously Erickson and Bandler and Grinder. What they're really good at is asking questions, figuring out patterns, and modeling. And when you combine those things, you get a pretty interesting set of skills. So I as you saw in the videos, I like pacing a lot. And so I've studied a lot of NLP and a lot of different NLP practitioners. I still haven't spent $1,500 on a course like some of them want us to do. But I've studied a lot of different places. And when Richard and I put together this school, there were very few people on my list of who I wanted teaching the class. Obviously our class is designed with a clinical bend to it. We're clinical application in mind rather than, daily life stuff. Or NLP for business and sales. And all those classes exist, or NLP to help you get laid and all the ridiculousness and, application. But when we were making the list for people who do the clinical application of hypnosis, my list was really two people. It was Michael Watson and Steve/Connie Ray Andreas. They're a couple who are married, and they live in Colorado. And so I said, I either want the Andreases or I want Michael Watson. And that's my first two choices, and there's a lot of other great people out there who really are very, very good. Will Horton is an example of that list. Kevin Cole's good. I don't think he has the same level of fame as the other guys, but I think he's good, and on and on. So as I was putting this list together, it made it really easy because Michael Watson is a friend of mine. I've seen him teach a handful of times. He also teaches for the Andreases. So on my top two people, it's either a guy or a guy who also trains for the other people. So it makes it a pretty easy, this guy really knows his stuff. And what I want to do is just take the intro video from NLP, and this is a goal I have, and maybe I'll get a chance to do it over the holidays. I've been watching a lot of Hypnosis 100 videos, as you can imagine. But one of my goals is to take the intro video from each class and make them freely available, just so you can see each instructor talk. And if you watch Michael Watson talk for just a few minutes, you'll see why you'd want to learn with him. I mean, just the way he presents language, the way he presents the thoughtfulness behind what he does is very gentle, and it's thoughtful. Like I said, he's wonderful at it. He's a pro, and he gets you to question language and to examine little things in your client's language, in terms something as simple as verb tense, something as simple as his follow-up questions. If you just paid attention to just his follow-up questions when he was doing demos during the class, it would change the way you practice. I know it has changed mine. And looking at the Milton model, the meta model, all the different things, he explains them very succinctly without getting too deep into the weeds and getting too much into the inside baseball stuff. It's very approachable.
Okay, thanks. How do you spell Andreas?
Andreas. It's Steve and Connie Ray Andreas. They're in, oh geez, are they in
Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, Boulder, Colorado. Okay, I'm not wrong. Yeah, and they're great. They're really great. They don't do as much teaching anymore. They're pretty retired. They mostly do hosting trainings for people like Michael Watson these days, but their books are worth getting. Connie Ray's book, I'm just blanking on the name of it right now.
Core Transformations?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Yeah, Core Transformation is a great book. It's intentionally repetitive and very good. So, if you want to look at something from them, I think that's a very easy way to get started. Their son, Mark, is a great guy. He just wrote a book. I want to say it was called something like Fruit of the Bitter Tree or something like that. Yeah. And he's really cool. I think he wants to make a name for himself more as an author than he does as a teacher, but I could be wrong about that.
Scott, could I add a comment? Just as
Please.
A student? So, Ray, and I do a lot of EFT, and so I'm curious about the book you've got. I'll get back to that. I think they're very different. They're both very powerful. And when you talk about Michael Watson being with Connie Ray and Steve, then I know he's good. I hadn't heard of him before. I've actually taken the Core Transformation training with Connie Ray's sister, Tamara, and
yeah.
And Mark, their son, was there, and he's wonderful. He's got probably the nicest energy I've had. So the other thing with, aside of just being a basic way of talking, there's a lot of great protocols that come out of NLP that are quicker in some ways than hypnosis to make changes around phobias and what have you. And it's a great but it's a phenomenal combination to do a training and support it with hypnosis or vice versa. So you just can't get too much NLP training for what it's worth. What I am curious about, though, when you said, Ray, that you had a book on hypnotherapy and EFT, I'd love to know the name of that, because, as I say, don't make it an either or. It's a both and very strongly.
Oh, I guess you misunderstood me. I didn't say I had a book.
Oh, okay.
Combine the two of them along with energy medicine or Reiki when I do my thing. I've been doing EFT for quite a while, and like I said, I just recently realized that NLP is more extensive than, or supposedly more extensive than the EFT, whereas previously I considered EFT to be a logical extension of NLP. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about NLP, so I picked up a book and read it, on my Kindle. And I was wondering if there was, if you had some other recommendations, which you just gave me.
Yeah, for me...
Does Watson or Steve and Connie have anything available on Kindle?
Core Transformation might be. I don't know that to be true.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah. For me, I respect EFT. Yeah, I respect EFT. I don't like using it personally. I studied it years ago, and it doesn't fit my style. I know it's good, and I know a lot of people who really like it. It doesn't fit me as well because I like language a whole lot, and I think EFT has a lot more energetic components, which just doesn't play to my strengths as a practitioner as much. But I would also, let's see, other people worth looking into in NLP. I mean, that's really a great list. I mean, you can also throw Jonathan Altfeld. I think he's out of Pennsylvania, somewhere around there anyway, and he's pretty darn great. But for my
how do you spell that last name, Oakfeld?
Altfeld, A-L-T-F-E-L-D, is either it or pretty close to it. Oh, I lost you. I got static. I hope that's not my connection. I hope people can hear me. I'm just hearing static on the other end right now.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So it sounds like that's just Ray's connection. By the way, good morning, Roberta. I saw you come in as we were having that conversation. This is Scott, and I hope you're doing well. Oh, now we've got a couple people.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, and you.
Yeah, doing very well. By the way, we just answered Ray's question.
Roberta, Scott, real quick.
Sorry?
Roberta, can you mute yourself when you're not talking? We have a lot of feedback off of your mic.
Certainly, I'm sorry. I will mute myself right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things we recommend. Wait, now it's Richards. One of the things we recommend is getting headphones for the class. You know, I'm using some right now, and it just makes the echo go away. But Roberta, if you have any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself, say them, or if you have headphones, plug them in. But then mute yourself again after the question. Or Larry, for that matter, if you have a question. Okay, we don't have to have a question.
Yeah, I don't have a particular question, but I do want to take this opportunity, Scott, to again thank you for all that you're doing, and Richard for all that you're doing. Juan for what he's adding to this thing. Is I'm finding the course to be very beneficial and interesting in both learning things and affirming things, and so I just want to acknowledge you. Wish you guys all a Merry Christmas too, as while I'm at it, but just acknowledge you for putting this together and creating an opportunity for people to learn. I've got a lot of time for it. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Larry. You know, it's really an interesting situation we find ourselves in because we've created this program that, you know, we've worked obviously very hard on. And it's interesting how often we're getting people like you as the students. And by you, I mean people who obviously know what they're doing already. You know, yeah, we get new people who've never read a book on hypnosis before, you know, taken one class or something like that. But what we see a lot more of is we're getting people who have a variety of backgrounds, whether they've taken a couple good classes or a couple bad classes or, you know, a mixed bag. And they're the ones who are appreciating the difference between what we're doing and a lot of other hypnosis trainings out there. So it's kind of interesting because our goal originally was we to have a lot more people that were sort of ground up, and we're getting a lot more people that are, you know, if I want to use construction terms, we're not getting land, we're getting remodels. So it's just kind of interesting, but it's cool because we're getting people like you who, you know, you and I have known each other mostly online, but also in person for years, and getting people that I know to be, you know, intelligent and educated and well versed in this stuff to give us compliments is really great. You know, and it means to us that we're on the right track in terms of content, and it just means we need to keep learning and figuring out the thing that we don't know very well yet, which is the marketing side of this. That's not something that, you know, any of us have spent a lot of time learning thus far because we've never needed to. And so now that we have a curriculum that we're proud of, and obviously always revisiting it and looking at it and getting feedback from students, but the major work is done there, and so we get to focus on learning this new skill of getting the word out about what this school actually does do. So
I've been going for a while. I just got back.
Yeah, we were just, I saw you check out and check back in. You know, connections do that, unfortunately, sometimes, Ray.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you, Larry, for saying so. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Well, let's see. You know, we have about 20 minutes left, and if none of you guys have any other questions, I'll just start talking about a few things, and if they prompt you for a question or anything like that, please feel free to interrupt. But what I was going to bring up is actually something that Ray mentioned. You know, these $1,500 classes that are going to make you an expert in something, and there are too many of those in our profession, and you know, it's a real shame, and the reason for it is actually obvious when you really look at the patterns. You know, those kinds of things. You know, and let's just use the word huckster. Hucksters exist in every industry, in every profession, and they always have and they always will. We, however, have a higher density of them than most other professions, and that's because hypnotherapists have, and NLP practitioners, EFT, you know, just kind of that umbrella of practitioners have already self-selected as people who are looking for shortcuts. And so when you're looking for shortcuts, you are more prone to fall for a huckster than people who are looking to be thorough. So, you know, if you just use an example of a psychotherapist versus a hypnotherapist. You know, a psychotherapist goes to many years of school, you know, obviously undergrad and then grad school. A hypnotherapist goes to a weekend training. I'm being overly simplistic, but there it is. And they're told and taught and marketed to believe that that's all that's necessary, and that's all that's happening. And so you get people who are intentionally misleading well-intentioned people, and it just keeps sort of doubling down on itself. And so you get to the point where it's those Nigerian scammers, right? You know, the email you get, I'm a Nigerian prince and I want to give you $1 million. And, you know, we all hear those as sort of a cliche spam joke now. Ray, I'm going to mute you. That was an amazing sound. Ray, I've muted you while we figure out those sound effects. I'll unmute you in a second. But those Nigerian scammers, you know, the emails that say, hey, I'm from Nigeria, I'm a prince, I'll give you $1 billion or whatever. They're not from Nigeria anymore. They're from all over the world, but why do they keep using Nigeria? And it's really interesting. You'd think they'd use a different country or a different story, and they don't, because they're self-selecting. Because if you, in 2013, fall for the Nigerian scammer email, it means you're extra gullible. And so it's self-selecting a very small population of people who are suckers. And that's why they keep using the same bad script. It's pretty clever, actually, when you think of it. But, you know, I think we have a very similar thing in hypnosis, where they're using the same script, which is, you know, let me teach you the techniques they don't want you to know about, or become a multimillionaire in passive income, helping people, and the same scripts that you hear over and over that are all about you don't have to work hard, you're exceptional. What we know is special so that it can go easy and success will be easy. And when you look for shortcuts to success, you're more likely to find a huckster than you are find something reputable. And that's, I think, what our industry has, like I said, doubled down on a few times in a pretty unfortunate way. And that's what we're trying to break. And not by putting those people out of business, but by making their job harder and making them have to step their game up. You know, it's impossible to put all the hucksters out of business, but we can make them work harder for it, and we can make them have to be better at what they do. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to inform our students so they at least are armed with better questions and critical thinking skills. So when there's, you know, discussions on the internet or even at a training in person where they say the American Psychological Association hates hypnotists and wants to shut us down, you can use critical thinking skills to realize why that's garbage, and that's incredibly not true. And on and on, and all the things that we hear about, and reasons why we're supposed to send people money. And there's you need to send us money because we're doing X, Y, and Z. And if you take critical thinking, you realize none of that's true. It's pretty simple to see what they're doing to deconstruct it, to break it down, just in terms of classical oratory skills and classical debate skills and classical manipulative speech, and that's what they're doing. And we have an industry that's too reliant on those things, and we're looking to go in the opposite direction, which is why so many of our instructors, are licensed and master's degree or more, rather than I don't have one of those, but that's okay. And most of our students don't either, and that's also great. But we're looking at not trying to create a wedge between those with licenses and those without. We're looking to do the thing that everyone says they want to do, which is raise the standards so that we can work together better. And yeah, so I think when people say they're looking for the easy way to find success, the easy way to be successful is to do your homework. It's pretty simple. The easy way to be successful is to have done the work, to read and be ready and be prepared when opportunity presents itself. The hard way is what all these hypnotists are doing, which is why they keep failing. They're making it too hard on themselves. And these wonderful, well-intentioned, kind people who want to help others put themselves in a position where they have to figure things out on their own. They have to learn from their mistakes. They have to learn the hard way, and they go out of business in the meantime. And it's because they looked for a shortcut where there wasn't one. And that's what we want to convince people of, is that spending 1 year of your life studying really hard is an insanely good investment in your career. And if you think of this as a career and a passion, a year of study is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. But when you compare it to a weekend of sitting in a classroom, it's much harder. But when you compare it to a couple years of going out of business and losing money and not knowing how to make the phone ring or not knowing how to generate referrals, it depends on what you compare it to, right? There's a Johnny Depp movie with that wasn't very good, but there's a line in it that was pretty clever where he says to the police, he's sitting with the police and they say, he was in a hotel room and someone tried to kill him, and they said, "You'd like to report a murder?" He says, "No, I'd like to report an attempted murder." And they said, "Oh, well, that's not as serious." He says, "Well, not when you downgrade it from murder, but when you upgrade it from room service, it's quite serious." And I think, how we frame what's going on in the industry really matters. And people in our industry are very good at framing and reframing. We're very good at setting the frame that gives us the advantage. And so I'm going to do that too. And to me, it's quite simple. If this is something you want to have as a career, it should be something you're willing to work hard at. And if you're not willing to work hard at it, don't make it a career. And if you're not willing to work hard on it, don't even call it a passion. Call it a curiosity or an interest. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Just the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right names. And I think a lot of people call things by the wrong name in this industry, and then they're tricked and lied to and deceived into believing that somebody in Washington or Wisconsin or wherever has just invented a new, amazing, world-changing, revolutionary technique. And that just doesn't happen. We don't invent new techniques. It's silly. We're looking at using all the same sets of tools over and over and over. And the way we do that is to be well-versed. And when I see someone's invented a new groundbreaking technique, I look at it and I can tell you where it comes from. And I'm not, the authority on that all the time, but I'm on the list of people who knows how to do that. And it's a shorter list than I wish it was, but it's a long enough list that it's not special. And there was a conversation on Hypnothoughts the other day about this. And by the way, I apologize if I'm lecturing, but feel free to interrupt me anytime. You know, I didn't know I was going to be running class this morning. So this is just sort of the stuff I've been thinking about lately. And please do interrupt me at any time. But there was a conversation on HypnoThoughts the other day that I thought was really good. Because someone was posting something by Igor Ledachowski. Now, I think Igor is a very good teacher. I hate his marketing, and I think he's a great teacher, and he teaches a lot of really interesting pieces from a variety of instructors. And because his marketing is so shady and his content is so good, there are a lot of people who believe he's inventing the stuff that he's teaching. And that's okay. You know, it is what it is. And I'm not going to vilify him for that at all. It's just sort of the ignorance of the students, and that's how the world works. But there's a conversation in HypnoThoughts where someone says, check out this technique of Igor Ledachowski doing something. And then the first reply to the conversation was, yeah, that was invented by Stephen Brooks, and here it is as Stephen Brooks. And somebody else wrote back, no, here it is done by Erickson. And they go, well, here's a quote by Charcot talking about it. And you can just look at this lineage of this amazing, groundbreaking technique by Igor that was, you know, traced back, you know, 3 or 4 generations of teachers as unoriginal over and over and over. Now, he did it incredibly well, but let's recognize what he did. You know, he executed somebody else's stuff wonderfully. So he wasn't a composer, he was a pianist or whatever instrument, right? So he played the music really well, but he didn't write the music. And we can go to the symphony and respect the music being played, but we don't think they're coming up with it. And I think too many hypnotists go to the symphony and think, oh my gosh, all those people in that orchestra just got together this weekend and invented that song. And that's disrespectful to the art and the work that went into making something that good, and the time it takes to develop and evolve something of that standard and quality. So, you know, when we look at our curriculum and you see classes like critical thinking, intro to psych, history of hypnosis, you look at these classes and you say, what do these have to do with being a professional hypnotist? That's my answer. You know, being a professional hypnotist is about being able to see where these things come from. And if you want to develop your own stuff, which of course we all do, you know, we all get creative in the moment, and we all do manipulate things and sort of jam with our clients. Creativity doesn't come from a black hole. Creativity doesn't come from, you know, just the universe. That's not how things get created. Your creativity comes from, just like everyone else's, taking apart and putting things back together in your brain. So you take things apart and you put them back together. And as you do, you invent new ideas. Now, the only way to be able to do that is to have parts. And the more Legos you have, the cooler the stuff you can build. And so the more classes you take, whether it's with us or anywhere, the more books you read, the more videos you watch, the more conversations you get into on HypnoThoughts or any other site for that matter, and stuff that's not even hypnosis related, the more building blocks you have, the cooler your Legos are. And the cooler your Legos are, the cooler the stuff you can build. And great hypnotists just have more Legos. That's it. Just like any other great whatever, you know, person who's going to be creative. If you look at Iron Chef, the reason they're so good is because when you give them a weird thing, they have enough Legos to build around it. So that, and that's sort of my really long-winded answer to that set of questions. So there you go. I don't know if that prompted any other follow-up questions, but if we can just, I'm going to unmute you, Ray. So if your dogs or anything like that are going on, feel free to mute yourself again. But I've unmuted you. And so Larry, Ray, Roberta, and you know, whoever, if that brings up any questions or encourages you to share that information, oops, up there, thank you, Ray, to share that philosophy with other practitioners or potential practitioners, please do, because I hate the idea of someone studying something for a week and then turning it into a career. It's a shame because they're not going to be as good as they could be, and it's just wasted potential.
The analogy I use, and I think you've identified it around the Lego, is the difference between being a good cook and a chef.
Yeah.
A good cook can follow a recipe and make phenomenal things happen and maybe modify it a little bit. A chef, and you're talking about the Iron Chef, knows what the ingredients do. I consider myself a really good cook. I'm not a good chef because I never learned the basics of cooking, so I don't know by adding mint to something whether it's going to make it better or worse.
Right.
And what I see in this course is I'm learning how to use all the different spices in a different way than I may have used them in the past. And exactly what you say, the more tools you have, the more flexibility you have to make a difference. So that's why, and I love this course because it's reminding me of a lot of tools I've forgotten about, and it's teaching me a bunch of tools I hadn't thought about that are new. So, you know, it's great, and I love your analogy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think we'll actually, unless, you know, any of you guys have any other questions, I think we can just maybe even end class 5 minutes early. You know, I'm happy to stick around for the next 5 minutes, but no point in holding you guys if there isn't anything.
I do have one really quick question. Sure. Are you still using NoteTaker HD?
I'm not, because I switched off of iPad over to Microsoft. I'm using the Surface Pro because that has a better stylus and a better active digitizer. So I'm using Microsoft rather than iPad. But NoteTaker HD is a great one. Pen Ultimate's a great one. There's a few others that are pretty great for note-taking on the iPad. Are you using NoteTaker HD?
No, I just noticed you doing it. I did one called Good Notes once downloaded. I couldn't figure out how to work it. They don't come with a lot of instructions.
No, they don't. Yeah, Pen Ultimate's good. There's another one that's oh geez, what's it called? It's been a while since I've used it, so I can't remember. I haven't used an iPad in a year. I mean, I've used an iPad in the last year, but I haven't used it for clients in 2013. So, geez, what is the other one? NoteTaker HD, Pen Ultimate. It's something like that. You know, if you looked for either of those, you'll see, you know, the ones that are recommended that are similar to it.
Yeah. You talked about Notes Plus. Is that the one you're looking at?
Maybe it's Notes Plus. There's even one other. Note Shelf. That's the one. Note Shelf.
Okay.
But yeah, and you know, they're all under $5. So
yeah.
You know, look at all of them, and if you wanted to spend $20 downloading all of them and trying them, that's not, you know, too big an investment.
No, I agree. Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Cool. Okay, well, let's end class 3 minutes early, and thanks for coming in. And please, you know, encourage people to do this, get involved, take these classes, and get informed as hypnotists. And I will see you guys later. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah.
Igualmente. Scott, did you want to talk to me about something else before we go? You going to call me, or what do you want to do?
You know what? Let me run into the office. I'm still at home. I'm going to run into the office, and I'll call you in about an hour.
Okay, well, about an hour I probably won't be around. I have another appointment, but
well, I'll find
a little later this afternoon.
Perfect.
All right. I should be back in Chambers by about 1 o'clock here. Well, about noon.
What if we do this? Just you give me a call. My number's on the HPTI website, so just give me a call when it works for you.
Okay, way cool.
Right.
That's your office number, right?
Yep.
Okay. Catch you later.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Adios.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call